Welcome to the wonderful world of Event Wizards. Getting to Event Wizards is under the Tools menu and Event Wizards. But before we go there, let's go to the Rockumentation under the Intranet menu, so you will know where to get to some helpful information about Wizards, Event Wizards. So we have our Event Wizard over here, and we have a little menu on the side that'll kind of jump you to different sections. And we're just going to go through this as we progress through this training. So Event Wizards. Now that we see this over here, I'm going to pop back over to the actual Event Wizard. Tools, Event Wizards, and we land on this page. Depending on your permissions, it will determine which boxes you view. You notice that there's icons at the top. Each of these Event Wizards is configured specifically for this ministry. And in each one, there's existing registration templates and group types that will be created. So you'll have to be able to select the correct wizard to start with. One way you can do that is under the group viewer. So people, group viewer. I've already expanded things out. Classes have this little icon, a little person viewing a screen. If you scroll down and maybe into marriage, you'll see marriage has like this little ring icon. Support and care has this hand with the heart. So if I come back over to the tab that has my Event Wizard open on it, you can see matching icons. The little person with the screen, the little hand with the heart, the ring, etc. So I didn't expand all of them, but the Women's Bible Study is a book, Women's Events is like a lady, and Men's Bible Study is the man. So that's one thing to start with, is just to identify which Event Wizard you're going to want to use. Another thing that has to be in place before you can use an Event Wizard is there has to be an existing calendar event, an existing registration template, and you have to know the group type of your ministry group, which we pretty much just covered. I'm going to kind of work with Financial Peace University today as a sample. You might not be able to see this page in Rock, but just to explain how events work. The main information of an event is stored at the top level with a picture and a description, the calendars that it's included in, the audiences that it goes to. Then under that, we have occurrences of the event. So fall of 2023, we had a class. Winter of 24, we had a class. Fall of 24, we had a class. Winter of 25, we had a class. And fall of 25, we had a class. So the next class will probably be winter of 26, right? And then these columns here, registration and group, shows that there was a registration linked to this calendar event and a group linked to this calendar event. Now let's go look at the group level. I'm going to scroll back to the top of the screen just to leave it here. That's the event details. On the groups, now we're under people, group viewer, and I've expanded it down into the Financial Peace University 2025 group. So this is the group that happened in fall of 25, and you can see here's a link to the registration and a link to the calendar event that we were just looking at. From the group, you can see the linkage to the registration and the calendar event. From the event, you can see a linkage to the group and the registration. And now we're over in the event registrations. So that's tools, event registrations. And I've already expanded the tree out to the Financial Peace University template. Templates work similarly to events as far as we have like a parent or a top level that holds all of the basic information. And then under that, we have registration instances. So each time we've had a class, we've had a separate registration instance, but it's all based off of this template at the top, okay? So if we open the fall of 2025 instance and scroll down here to this middle menu bar, there's a tab called linkages. And if we click that, we also see that it's linked to a calendar item and a group. And if you have edit privileges to the screen, you might actually be able to edit from here which calendar event it gets added to, the slug, the group, and the public name. The public name is the name that shows up on the buttons. So that's helpful to know. So the public name, we probably don't need 2025 on there. We could just have Financial Peace University, something like that, and hit save. I'm going to cancel Financial Peace University 2025 has already been completed, so not going to make any difference there. That gives you an overview of behind the scenes how things are linked together. We are going to be creating that linkage within the event wizard, so you don't have to go to 3 different places to create these things. That's the kind of the beauty of the wizard. But before we do the wizard, let's go to the outside website. And we have our calendar. So when you saw the audience on the event for Financial Peace University, you saw that it had an audience of adults and an audience of classes. But when I'm filtering by that, I do not see Financial Peace University here because there is no active occurrence. The same with our groups and classes page. We have a classes section, but if I click that, it should come after Connect Groups and before Women's. We don't see any classes showing up. And then there's an actual ministry page for Financial Peace University, but there are no upcoming events. So what we do in the event wizard will actually also impact these 3 pages as well. Let's get started. This is the fun part. We're going to make a class because we determined that was the group type that Financial Peace University was. We're going to select the template. Now, some of these drop downs will have more choices than others, but you want to select the template to the registration that you're going to be doing. You want your campus. Let's go ahead and select main campus for now. When we expand to multiple campuses, it'll be important which one you select, or all. If your event applies to all, then that would be important too. Now the contact person for the registration will default to the person who is logged in. So if that's not the person who is in charge and needs to be contacted regarding this event, then we just change it and it'll update the email automatically, and we don't really use the phone section. So now we'll just click next. Okay, now we're actually going to put the details in for this specific registration instance. It just says registration up here on the bubble, but think about it as the instance. So we're doing, Financial Peace, and since this is a test, let's just do December 2025. And, the registration should have opened on the 2nd, like a month before, and it's going to end, let's say it ends, it's going to be on Monday, so let's have it close the last day at the end of the day. And we don't need a reminder, and we don't have a maximum number of attendees. Now the account, you'll see the red dot, that's a required field. Check with your ministry leader or the finance to know which account to choose. I believe this one's the Financial Stewardship Non-Deductible account. And you'll see the public name down here automatically populated, right? So let's just get rid of December 25 and let's just say Financial Peace University. I forgot to put university up here. So this will show up on the buttons. And then the slug. The slug is very important, and it needs to be somewhat descriptive, all lowercase letters, preferably the 4-digit year because it's just more clear when people see it in the thing. If you say December 25, people might think it would be Christmas Day. So if you stick the little 20 in there, it'll help. The slug goes at the end of the URL. So it'll say mycenterpoint.tv/registration/FPUs-December 2025. The other part that's really important about the slug is it's what will help Rock put the person who registers into the group that's going to be created in a minute. If that slug isn't there, you don't get the person put into the group. Registration instructions. Registration instructions. Back in the documentation for Event Wizard, if you come down here to registration instance, how to use the Event Wizard, which part we're doing right now, I actually have some bright orange reminders what to do here. And there's a bunch of information here about what each of these fields mean, so you can reference that again. But I have some sample instructions down here. There we go. Copy, and then come back over to my template. And on this screen, this is the kind of the what you see is what you get screen, and you can copy and highlight and bold and such like that. That's not the screen I want to be on right now. There's a code editor screen here in the corner. You can toggle this, and now you're seeing the HTML of that screen. So this was a paragraph tag, and that was the gibberish I typed, and that's the end of the paragraph, and this is the next paragraph, and then there's a bold, and then there's the end of the bold and the end of the paragraph. I'm not expecting you to learn HTML. Just delete whatever's there and paste in what we just copied. And you'll see these P's and B's. Those are coding. Made it nice and clean and neat. If I toggle this back over, I can see this other screen, and I can see that it's all formatted very nicely. So I'm going to do, they're going to be December 1 through December, I don't remember. What was the dates? Hold on a second. Let me go find out. 29. And it's going to be in the CP Kids building. It costs $80. Now, putting this when, where, and the cost at the top of the instructions is just really helpful for people to glance at it and go, oh, great. I know what day, I know what time, I know where, how much it's going to cost. I can decide if I'm even going to be able to do this or not. And then you can get into the details. And so that gives you your details. Now, on your reminder details, if you put a reminder at the top, it's helpful just to, you can just copy this and put it here. But do you see how the formatting didn't work with the bolds and everything? So I'm going to hit Control Z and that'll undo that. But if I go to the code and I copy this one, and then I go to this code and I paste it in, now I have my formatting very clean and neat again. So it's just a very easy way to control formatting is to use the HTML code sections. Now, reminder details, if you set a reminder date, they're the code template that will go out. This is information that gets added to that template. And that template's very vague. It just says, hey, remember there's an event coming up. So you want to put the details of when, where, and such. So I just confirmed, and actually the reminder details and the confirmation details that are in the coded template basically only apply to the person's name that got registered and also the amount paid. So you do want to include time and date and location in both the reminder details and the confirmation details, as well as any other messages you want to. The other thing I want to show you on this screen before we move on is there's this bar, this gray bar. I'm clicking my mouse on it and I'm dragging, and I'm actually making this window taller so you can see all of your text. And you can see that each of these sections has a gray bar, so I can make, it's funny, it's making the top of the screen move, but if I scroll back up, I can see everything. So that's just how you work this page. This is a very detailed page, has a lot of information that's very important. Again, any of the red dots is mandatory required. And then you move forward when you are done. Anytime in the Event Wizard, you are able to go back to the previous page and make adjustments. But when you are completely finished with the Event Wizard, you can't change anything on the Event Wizard part, if that makes sense. You'd have to go back to the individual group, registration, or calendar event to make any changes. And that's only if you have permissions to get to those areas. That's another nice thing about the wizard is you are actually able to do some things with the wizard that you might not actually have permissions to do otherwise. Okay, so we have our new group name, and it just took the name that we used from our registration, which is fine. And then we want to select a parent group. So we're creating a new group right now, and we decided that FPU is going under these this classes category. So we want to select classes. We don't want to select any of the previous groups because that would make it the parent. So we want to select classes as the parent, and we can ignore location and schedule. This is, I believe, for if we're going to set up check-in or something. So this screen was pretty quick. Now we go to the event. Now, like I said, you have to have an event already created. If you type, it will jump to the letter you type. So I think we have a Financial University event, Financial Peace University. And then we click Next. And then location description, I think it was the CP. You just type in here. You don't have to select from anything. Room C8. Schedule. If you're not familiar with Rock on how schedules work, you put the first meeting date here in the at the top. And I believe we were, let's see, you can click the little clock and click the little buttons if you want. We were 6:30 p.m. It's going to be 2 hours and 0 minutes. But then the class is going to recur. It's going to recur weekly on Mondays, every 1 week. So every week on Mondays, and it's going to end on, let me grab the calendar. We're going to end on Monday the 29th, but Rock will look at this as like 12 o'clock on Monday the 29th, and that's not when we end. We end later on the day on Monday. So if we grab the next day, Tuesday the 30th, then it'll make sure that we could get all of the minutes of Monday included. And then we don't need to exclude anything, but if you were meeting over a course of 2 months and there was a holiday in between, you could exclude a certain date by clicking the add a date and put that in there. So you click OK, and you'll see that we have weekly Mondays at 6:30. And then occurrence note. So the occurrence note is very important. Let me just take a pause here, and I'll go back to the Rockumentation, and I'll look up here at the occurrence of a calendar event, the note. The note is going to show up in a couple different places. Here's a little screenshot of the note showing up on the groups and classes page. Here's a screenshot of where the note shows up on the calendar event page, detail page. And you'll also see the note show up on the ministry page, which I don't have a screenshot for, so I'll just have to show that to you at the end when we finish. The other thing about the note is that you need to be very concise, and again, formatting will be important. So like this groups and classes page is especially important. If this note gets too big, like right now it's at 2 lines, and that's okay. We could probably put a few more words in here to finish up this line. But when it gets to 3 or 4 lines, then the pictures on the side start getting squished and automatically cropped, and things don't look good. So in order to do that, I have under the How to Use Event Wizard event occurrence, I also have a template to use and some screenshots here on how to do it. Okay, so here's the template of the code. I'm going to copy that and come back over to our wizard. Again, we're going to use the code editor. We can delete what's here and paste in the new stuff. Now, we can do our editing right here. Mondays. And again, we're going to be really concise. So we're going to use like the abbreviation. We're not even going to put a period after December. We're going to try to keep it like lean and mean. 29th. And then we're going to do 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Cost $80. I don't know if childcare was provided for FP or not, but if you wanted to list that there, that's a good thing to include. And this was a Bible study one, so let me find the FPU little blurb. Oh, I think there's something here. This might actually be too long, but we're going to try it. And get rid of some of the extra words. And so now we have an occurrence note. And if I click here, we can see Mondays and the cost, and then financial piece designed to instruct participants in God's ways of handling money and financial resources. Yay. Okay, I think we're almost done. So if I click next, we get to the summary page. So nothing has actually been created yet. Basically Rock has collected all of the information that it needs, and it's going to create this registration, and it's going to create this group, and it's going to create this calendar event. And then we will click finish, and it will go create all of that. This is the only time you're going to see this success page. Right mouse click or two finger click on the link, and you can open the link in a new tab. So I opened that link in a new tab, and now I got to my Financial Peace University December 25 link or page. I can see the linkage already is created between the group and the calendar item, the public name and the slug. I see that there. Go back to the classes, the end of the wizard page. Right mouse click or two finger click on group, open in a new tab. I can see I have my December 25 group, again with my links. Now I don't have any group members because nobody's filled out my registration. Now this is the event detail you probably don't have access to. Very few people actually see the actual event, but I can show you that the December 1st class got added, occurrence got added, and with the occurrence note that we just created and the linkage. So I'm going to click back on that one. Okay, back to our class. View external event details. So let's open that in a new tab. So this is our calendar page, and here's our button that just has our public name on it, and it has our note. And then I think our final link is the event occurrence. Where does that go? Let's find out. Oh, this is the internal. Okay, so you won't be able to see that most likely either. Okay, so that explains the links that show up at the end of the wizard. Now let's go look at the ministry page. Let's refresh this page. And now we have an upcoming event, and it has our occurrence note on it. But see, it got cut off at the word God. Okay. The more information will send us to the calendar event. And you can see the rest of the description there. I'm going to click back. The Financial Peace University button will take us to the registration. And the registration's not open. Okay. And so when I go to the groups and classes page and update that, you're not going to see it show up here yet because we don't have an active registration. And if we refresh this calendar page, you'll see the Financial Peace University, you'll see more info, you can get to the button, but the registration's not open yet. So what happens is that when you finish, now I have so many tabs open, I have to find out where I'm at. When you finish the wizard, that's the word I'm looking for. It's going to create your registration instance, but it's going to make it inactive. So there's a couple things that have to be finished up here before we make it active. One is just double check that you got your instructions correct. So if you hit edit, make sure your start and end dates are correct, your contacts correct, your accounts correct, your instructions, everything. You can go and edit all of that right here. And I'm pretty sure most people can edit their registrations. We already showed you that the linkage was there. Now there's something that hasn't been expressed clearly in the past, but we need to start doing this better. When somebody fills out a registration, we have the ability to automatically add them to a communication list. And we do that with a workflow. Now, I'm going to go slow here. if we go back to the template, so you can look just here up here on the little dots. If you go back to the template, you can see that there's a registration workflow, and this particular template has a workflow that's sending both the registrar and the registrant to the communication list. Sometimes, if it's say a kids event, it might just send the registrar, which would be the parent, to the communication list, and we don't necessarily send the kid to the communication list, something like that. So you'll see either registrar, registrant, or registrar and registrant here on the template. And that'll give you an idea of who is going to be receiving, or who is going to be placed in this communication list that we're talking about. So let's go back into the instance of, this is our test one for December 2025. We go to the attribute values, and we go to the very bottom of this screen. There's a lot of information here, so stay on track and only work with the information that we're showing you. We're going to go to a communication list. You don't have to change that, but then you have to select a communication list here, and we have an FPU communication list. So anybody who drops in or who fills out a registration on this instance will get placed in this group. There's one other thing that we have to set on every instance, and that is the show the Venmo payment button. So if your registration is collecting money and you want people to be able to pay with Venmo, you'll have to check this box every time. And then you come down here and click Save. Okay, so now we've made the edits we need to make on our registration. We go back into the Edit button and we click Active. Then we have to save that. And now we have an open registration for FPU. Let's go back out to our website pages. This is the ministry page. Nothing really changed on this page, but if I click the FP or Financial Peace University button, it will take me to the registration, and here are the instructions, and I'm ready to continue through the registration. I'll go back to my ministry page. If I go to the groups and classes page and I hit refresh, now I see classes and I see Financial Peace University showing up with the occurrence note showing, and this one is showing all of the words. Now that's something we didn't do as far as adjusting that occurrence note. Once a calendar occurrence note is done, then only somebody with certain administration privileges can edit that. So that's kind of tricky, I don't know, how many words is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, like a dozen words is about all you really want to put in there so that it shows up good on all the pages, because this is the page it didn't show up good on. This is how something automatically gets put on the groups and classes page. You have to have a active occurrence, upcoming occurrence, with an active registration in this group type. Kind of all three of those have to be true, and then things will automatically show up on this page. And then we have our calendar page. So we can filter. We saw the calendar event before, but we're going to have, why does it say the 8th? Oh, because I think we were scrolled down on the calendar. If we go to the top of the calendar, we should see the 1st. Yeah, Financial Peace on the 1st. And then more info. On that public name, since it is the button, it ends up being the button title. You could even change that up, and you can do that from the registration linkage. So if we go to the registration, I'm looking at attribute values right now, but if I come over here to linkages and edit that, and it says public, so we could say FPU registration and hit save. Now come back over here and refresh the screen, and it says FPU registration. So that might be helpful. And then if you are able to edit the actual event occurrence, oh, I opened the wrong one, but somebody else had put a very short description here, so let's steal theirs. Edit. And paste. Okay, now let's go back to the ministry page and update. Oh, that's weird. What did it say? Practical biblical guidance, God's... Okay, that's obviously a little bit of a bug. Oh, I know why. It's not a bug. So the code does not want not the abbreviation. It doesn't like this, it doesn't like the apostrophe. Weird. How about if we just reword it? How about practical biblical guidance on handling money? There we go. If we do that, and excuse me as I pop through the tabs, look at that, practical on biblical guidance on handling money. There you go. That's why it's showing up now. And then that showed up here nice and clear. And this did, oh, if we refresh this page, now it just says FPU registration. I think that concludes how to do an event wizard. Probably way more information than you need to know all the time, but it gives you an opportunity to understand how all of the kind of the dots are connected and the importance of trying to put things in correctly the first time. I need to show the importance of that slug we were talking about. So if I go to the FPU registration, up here in the URL, you see mycenterpoint.tv/registration/FPU December 2025. And this is our slug, right? So if I register myself, finishing, and I successfully registered, I need to look for my new group. My new group is December 2025 group. And look, Cecilia Fountain is in there from this registration. Okay, now let's go back to, I have an example of this. Okay, here it is. It's up here near the top. So if I have this link, and I know that this particular registration was, okay, so if you grab the registration link before it's linked and it has a slug, you'll have a link that looks like this. And I just call it the ugly URL because it says registration, registration instant ID equals, and then whatever the ID for your particular instance is. So technically, this is the exact same registration that we just did. Let me register my test child. Finish. Excellent. Now we've registered less. If we go to the registration, so I'm on the registration, event registration screen with the FPU template, and I'm looking at the instance for Financial Peace December 2025. And I come down here and I registered myself twice, and then I realized I shouldn't have registered myself because you won't be able to see if I showed up in the group or not. So I registered my test child. So we would want Cecilia and Les to both be in the group. So if I go back over to the group viewer and I refresh the screen, I don't see Les over here. And he's not over here because when he registered through that other link, if that makes sense. This is the ugly URL, and it does not drop people into the group when you're finished, even if there's a linkage. You have to use the correct link with the slug on it. Let's see if I have a picture of it up. Yeah, you have to use this correct link with the slug for the person to drop into the group automatically. So just wanted to clarify that and show you an example of how that works or doesn't work, as the case may be.